Hello and good day, everybody. I'm Joy Holt, and I'm here with Chris James and Ferdinand, and it's Monday with the Mayor. Hello, Chris.
Hello, Joy.
How are things today?
So far, so good.
Are you loving the weather?
It's beautiful.
Yeah, one day of winter, the rest is spring.
Sure. And then some more winter, and then some more spring. So,
yeah.
Welcome to Indiana.
Yeah. Oh, no kidding. You can dress for all four seasons in one day.
Yes.
That's right. Okay, so I wanted to ask, how are things coming along with the community crossings since you guys have had good weather? Where are you guys at with that?
Well, we were very fortunate last fall that the weather behaved in a positive way for us. We were approved for, I think there were a total of 18 projects on the to-do list. We got about half of those done last year, about a half a dozen street pavings, and then we began work on our Virginia Street sidewalk project, which is literally going to connect from 5th Street Park to 18th Street Park when everything is said and done. The weather finally turned cold last November and the asphalt plant shut down, so that kind of put the stops to any paving work. But once those get fired back up for the springtime, I know it's felt like spring for the last couple of weeks, but we're waiting for the official spring where temperatures will stay at a good level. Once that kicks in, then the asphalt plants stop operating, and then Tom Leakin and his guys, they have their list and they're just doing some prep work now, that once the paving is ready to go again, then we can jump right out and finish up the 2016 portion of the projects, get the rest of the pavings done, finish up on Virginia Street. We have a segment of sidewalk along 5th Street, West 5th, that still needs to be done, and a few other places that need to be either installed or improved to some capacity. Then we can kind of put that to bed. Sort of on a related note, the state this year, because it's the budget session, takes them a little longer, but road funding is a big part of that, and there is going to be future community crossings. They pretty well promised that for at least 2 more years, if not further. Right now they're tweaking the formula in terms of how to fund it. Some of the money was already there. They're looking at longer term, just to have it be a continual process. They've also looked at tweaking the match. This initial run, it was basically a dollar for dollar match. A community comes up with $100,000. If everything is approved by NDOT, NDOT would match that for $100,000. They're looking to tweak that formula, which would be much more in favor of the community. So it wouldn't necessarily be a dollar for dollar, but I've seen where it could be an 80-20 split. So the community can still put in the money it can, but get a larger return from NDOT, which would allow, hopefully, for larger projects or additional projects to be done.
How do you decide what projects will be done for community crossings?
Part of the initial project, coming up with the application last year, you had to come up with a 5-year plan. A lot of big communities, they've got people, that's what they do. Smaller towns, we came up with one. Some folks, they contracted out with organizations that did that work. We did ours in-house. But again, it was Tom for a large extent. He drives the streets. He knows what's good, what's so-so, what needs to be fixed yesterday. And a lot of those sections either were or will be paved as part of this year's project. But part of it was a 5-year plan, and depending on the funding available as to which way we could go. West 23rd Street is in sore need of replacement, not just really repair, but replacement. It was a concrete street. Did well for a while, but the ground settled over time, and that's caused a lot of cracking and a lot of issues. That obviously will be very expensive to replace. So that's where the dollars come into being on that. And we've got other areas that could be refurbished as well. So a lot of it will be dictated partly by how much money we can come up with and how much money the state will grant back. The cap is still $1 million, regardless of how much you put in. But $1 million would be great if we can make our dollars match with the state's and go forward with that. But that's part of the 5-year plan. And as we scratch these off the list, everything just kind of shuffles up a row as you were. You can always reorganize them as you need. But those are a couple, that would be one that would be on the sooner rather than later list. But we'll see what the state legislature comes up with in terms of their final decision, how it's funded and all of that. But because that they're working on that now, they aren't taking any applications until more in the summertime. Once they actually have it in writing, here's how we're going to do it, here's what you can get, here's what we can give, get all of that figured out. But then later into the summer, then they'll do their call to action, I think is what they call it. And then that's when the applications can begin. And then we would submit our application and go forward from there. So.
Okay, awesome. Sounds like you guys are on the ball then. People
We're
can expect
trying.
to see some good stuff. Yeah,
Yes.
good. So since we'll move on from that, what's going on with the wastewater plant?
Well, we are in year 3 of a 3-year clock handed down by IDEM when our last permitting cycle came into being. It's a 5-year permit, but it was a 3-year clock that they turned on dealing with phosphorus. And this is something we're going through it now. Huntingburg, I think, is just a little bit ahead of our schedule. I believe Jasper is, if not on the clock, will soon be with their permit. It's just how it staggers out. We will be beginning, weather permitting, this week, phase 1 of that project. We have to construct a small storage building on the treatment plant grounds to hold the chemical that we use to treat the plant to reduce the phosphorus level down. We've actually started doing that last fall, and we're doing sort of a temporary weather insulation on that tote so that we can do that. And it's worked out very well. We've got our levels below what is required. That kicked into play pretty quickly. Did a little bit of tweaking just to get the chemical feed just right. But Roger Schaefer and his guys at the wastewater plant, they're on top of that, making sure that it's not too heavy or too thin a mix. They've got that locked in. Graves Plumbing, they were the low bidder actually on both phases when added together. They're down at the plant today doing some of the lay of the land work, making sure you can look at the blueprints and see where things are, but their guys actually on site seeing where things are at. And he's getting prep work done. Again, if weather holds, some of the initial digging for foundations and footers will be later this week and get that going because this is a smaller project. This shouldn't be too difficult to put together, and get that part done. And then beginning no later than April 15, that's when the big phase 2 of it, the actual drying beds, kicks into place out on the town-owned property on 475 East. We've been very blessed that Graves is the low bidder, but also Midwest Engineers. They've been with us step by step on this, making sure everything is the way it needs to be. But we're looking to get the ground prepped, about 30 days worth just of dirt work. Lots and lots of earth to be moved and reshaped.
How many drying beds are you going to have when you're done?
We are going to have 6 beds, but there will be space set up that in the future, if we would need to construct additional, we could. But right now, the capacity that we're at, and even if we go to a higher capacity, 6 beds will suffice for quite a period of time. But be 30 days or so of dirt work on that, and then once they've got everything positioned, and then we just begin the caravan of the cement trucks in, and that'll take however long it takes for them to get that poured.
Now, how large will the drying beds be?
I don't have the specific dimensions. In a sense, a standard size. I know the city of Jasper has drying beds already. They're basically the equivalent length of that. But yeah, it's just sort of a standard size drying bed. And then we'll get the necessary equipment with it. And this fall, once everything is done, then we'll begin the process of hauling our liquid product from the treatment plant out to the drying bed, put it into the beds, and let Mother Nature work its course and let it dry out and go from there. But we're looking probably yet this spring at one more cycle of the wet application. And we've been blessed to have a couple of area farmers who had fields that they've made available to us to put down wet. Some farmers don't want the wet, and that's their choosing.
Sure.
A lot more prefer the dry, and we've all been receiving contact from various farmers since last summer asking about it. When it's ready to go, can we have some? And
Now, are
so
you
we're-
allowed to sell it?
No.
Okay, you should make that, yeah, make that
No,
clear. You're
this
not allowed to
is-
sell it, it's just,
That's against state law for us to sell it.
Okay.
But if the Holt Farms has a need of it and we can make the transportation work, we'll haul it to your field, we apply it, we work it into the ground.
Okay.
Because there's timelines on that, again, mandated by the state. It's not just us randomly saying, well, we need to do it this way or that way.
Right.
The state says, you have to do it this way. And so we we don't want to get them upset at
oh,
us.
sure.
But,
So can people, or can farmers look forward to that at the end of fall?
fall is when we will start hauling out to the beds. It probably wouldn't really be into spring of 2018
Okay.
that we would have material ready to spread.
Sure.
And by that time, I'm sure there'll be many more contacts made to Roger from the different farmers asking, can we get? And some of it is just going to be dictated by who asks first, who's located closest,
Right.
different things of that nature. But
Sure.
that'll be a good problem for us to have, where there's lots of folks wanting, as opposed to us looking for
Sure.
individuals that will allow us to wet apply. So that'll be a good problem to have, but that probably won't kick in the actual dispersal of the dry until probably spring of 2018.
Okay. Well, that is a great life cycle, and you guys have really got it figured out so that it benefits everybody involved. So that's great.
We're trying. It's been, in some ways, the 3 years has just kind of crept on by, and in other ways, it's already year 3.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because this came about, I had only been as town manager a handful of months when this kicked in, and I'm now starting my 4th year. So the time has zipped by pretty quickly in that regard. But,
Yeah.
but we'll be happy to get that done and off the book, so to speak, and then we can focus ahead on whatever the state environmental or federal environmental officials say is the next thing you need to either get out of or reduce the level of.
Right.
That's just speculation as to what that could be right now, but I'm sure better minds than ours are already thinking up what's on the horizon.
Oh, sure.
So,
All right. Well, thank you very much for being with us today,
Thank you,
Chris,
Joy.
and I appreciate your time, and it was very informational.
well, we try. Glad to help out. We'll see you again soon.
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
This has been Monday with the Mayor, Chris James and Ferdinand. I'm Joy Holt. Have a good day.